Well, hello there everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. So before I begin this video, I want to make known that the inspiration for this came from the future ruler of Earth, from the center of the Earth, Victor Dam Dudencock. Now, he recently did a video that talked about a journalist who said that Luke in The Last Jedi becoming, well, a hermit who just wanted to die was quite logical. And what Victor started talking about was how is it logical that the student, Ben, was more powerful than Luke, and then the novice, Rey, was more powerful than Ben. You get where I'm going with here. So I started thinking, and I actually started doing a little bit of, I guess you can say, reading. And the power scaling that I want to use here is going to be a little bit strange. I will admit that, but just stick with me, folks. You'll get what I mean. So, Ben admires Darth Vader. We see it in The Force Awakens and all this other stuff. You know, he wants to be as Darth Vader. He wants to be, as strong as Darth Vader and blah, 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 blah. Or you can just say Anakin. Now, to start back, we have to look at Anakin. Now, in The Phantom Menace, Anakin was, very strong. He was just a boy, and he had such a strength in the Force that he was even stronger, or at least he had a greater midichlorian count than Master Yoda. And I was thinking, who can I compare Anakin to? Well, Revan, believe it or not. You see, though this, I don't know if this is canon or not, because God only knows what Disney's doing, but in the EU, Revan was incredibly powerful with the Force. We hear in the games that even when Kreia from KOTOR 2 saw Revan, she saw life. She just saw power, strength in the Force. But, even Revan, just like Anakin, though they were incredibly strong in the Force, they both had to undergo training. They had to undergo task. And Revan had many masters so he can learn many multiple techniques of the Force to become as powerful as he is. And Revan became so powerful in the Force that when you play the online MMO for the Republic side and you go through the flashpoint of Maelstrom Prison, I believe, when you rescue Revan, you find out that he has such strength in the Force that he was using the dark side to extend his life, and he stayed alive for 300 years past the events of the first KOTOR game. That is crazy. Now, it was also hinted that the Emperor from the Old Republic game was just as powerful, but we're just going to leave that alone for right now. We're just going to focus on this. Just stick with me. Alright, so we're comparing Anakin to Revan. Now, as we know, Anakin went through the training of the Jedi, and he did become stronger. He became greater. Now, he lost to Dooku, but to be fair, Anakin was still a Padawan. And, he didn't go through the war yet. The Clone War actually strengthened Anakin more ways than you can imagine, because who would have thought going to war and fighting a galaxy will teach you a few things. Now, it is canonized that Anakin was so powerful that when him, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka met the father, the brother, and the sister, they were the equivalent of Force gods, alright? I mean, the sister was the embodiment of the light side, the brother was the embodiment of the dark side, and the father was, I guess, neutral, who kept the balance between them. And we saw that Anakin was so powerful that he was able to control the brother and the sister. He was able to control essential Force gods. That in itself is a very impressive feat. Now, of course, later on, Anakin eventually becomes Darth Vader. And, he gets put in the suit because Obi-Wan, though Anakin gave Obi-Wan a run for his money, Obi-Wan knew his apprentice, knew his student, so he used Anakin's arrogance against him, and thus, defeated him and helped him turn into Darth Vader. So, but that didn't stop, Anakin's power. Darth Vader was still just as powerful. Now, we're going to leave Vader right there. So, the most impressive thing we've seen Anakin or Vader do is basically control Force gods. Now, it is implied that Luke is just as powerful, if not even more powerful, as Anakin was. And honestly, in the EU, if Anakin didn't become Darth Vader, the EU, Grandmaster Luke Skywalker was basically what Anakin would have been if he wasn't put in the suit. So, Luke, in a way, was more powerful than Darth Vader. And we do see this in the movie when Luke gives in to the dark side, temporarily, of course, but he's able to use his raw strength in the Force in that, emotional state to overpower his father. But of course, then, we see him willingly give up his life to save his father, which ultimately planned out in the end. But that's a bad power scale comparison. Actually, what I want to power scale them is a Star Destroyer. Now, it has been canonized in the Marvel Comics. I don't know how many of y'all read the Marvel Comics, but Luke was fighting that Special Forces Stormtrooper with a lightsaber. Now, this was between 4 and 5. Luke has 0 training still. He's not able to do much of anything with the Force. He's very novice. He's very basic. But in that moment, the Stormtrooper was getting the better hand of him, and he drew a very raw, primal, and emotional force out of Luke, where Luke used the Force to push him back. But it was so powerful that the Star Destroyer that they were on shook so much that, it looked like it was vibrating in space. And Vader, who was nearby, felt that power, and Vader was like, damn, my son is freaking strong as hell. Now, since it is theorized, or, we can assume that Luke and Anakin were on the same power scale, we can safely assume that Vader and Luke can tear a Star Destroyer down from the sky with ease. Just one Star Destroyer. Now, we have seen this in the Force Unleashed video game, and if you watch some of the commentary of the first game, their motivation to building Starkiller was, okay, what would Luke be if he actually turned to the dark side? So let's keep that in mind, and let's keep that power scale in mind as well. So for right now, Anakin and Luke are strong enough to tear just one Star Destroyer from the sky. Now, as we get to the sequel trilogy, we get to that scene with Luke and Ben in The Last Jedi. Now, it's kind of hard to tell exactly how powerful Ben is, but clearly Ben was powerful enough to, 1, render his uncle unconscious, push his uncle back, and then go on a killing spree and kill half the Jedi, and then convince the other half to join him. We're still not sure how that happened exactly. I have my own theories, but that's not what this video is about. But since Ben, in a student level, he's obviously had some training, he knows what he's doing, but if Ben is so powerful to render Luke unconscious, stop the Master, stop the Grand Master, I'm going to safely assume that Ben can probably, at that point, especially with the training with Snoke, can probably pull 2 Star Destroyers down from the sky. Now, I understand that sounds a little redonkulous, like, that's foolish, dude, why are you talking like this? Well, I'm trying to use what we have in canon as an example. Ben is clearly stronger than Luke right now, which, one, doesn't make sense to me, but they had to make Ben more stronger and more powerful than Luke so that Ben could destroy the Jedi again, because if Luke was more powerful than Ben, Luke could have easily deflected that blast that Ben did and stopped him there in his track. So, for just, sake of argument, we're going to say Ben is more powerful than Luke, and we're going to say he's able to, we'll say only after his training with Snoke, he's able to do 2 Star Destroyers down. At that point, in The Last Jedi flashback, we'll just say Ben was powerful enough to do a Star Destroyer and a half. There, we'll keep that easy. So then we get to Rey. Now, Rey is a novice, as we know. She has 0 training. She's never been a Jedi. She's never held a lightsaber. She doesn't even know what the Force is. You gotta think, when she met Han Solo and he was telling her about the Jedi, she thought they were a myth. She was like, wait, they were actually real? Now, keep that in mind. Now, throughout the story, especially towards the end of The Force Awakens, we see Rey do incredible things with the Force. Now, yes, there was that copy and paste that is in the novelization of The Last Jedi, that when Kylo was in her mind, she just copied all of his training and power and made it hers. But the pure fact is that when they were having their lightsaber duel for the first time, yes, Rey was losing at first, but the thing is when she let the Force in and, I don't know, went to a heightened state of the Force, I'm not sure what to call that, she overpowered Ben with ease. Now, you could say, yes, but, Ben was wounded. He got shot by Chewbacca. True, I will give you that, but that really didn't seem to affect him too much. So Rey is so powerful in the Force that all she had to do was let it in once, and that raw power was able to overpower Ben. So, for the sake of that, I'm going to say Rey is probably capable of tearing down 3 Star Destroyers from the sky. No trouble whatsoever, because it's been shown that she's more powerful than Ben. Which also makes why Ben is kind of a poor villain, because, the hero's more powerful than him. What's the point? Now, and The Last Jedi, y'all can say, but hold on there, Dark Side Leathers. Snoke was able to throw her around, read her mind, and do all this other crazy stuff to her. Alright, you are correct. But then that tells us, well, how powerful is Snoke? So, if Ben is more powerful than Luke, and if Rey is more powerful than Ben, and Snoke is more powerful than Luke, Ben, and Rey, then I'm gonna say that Snoke probably has the potential to tear down 4 Star Destroyers from the sky. Now, I understand that power scaling is really, out there, but I'm just using this, as just, it's the best I can come up with. So, because Snoke was clearly able to overpower Rey, and you can tell he was toying with her. He was just like, psh, back off, go over there, go over here now, read your mind, good job. And it took vast amount of mental manipulation on Ben's part to actually kill Snoke. But if Snoke was so powerful, why did he view Luke as a threat? Why did he want another Darth Vader? Because since Rey is more powerful than Ben and Snoke is more powerful than Rey, why does he need another Darth Vader? Now, it could be because, he's old and decrepit and his skin's falling apart. But maybe we know Snoke admired Vader, but maybe he didn't admire Vader for his power, but maybe he admired Vader for what he has achieved, what he has done. I mean, you gotta think, Anakin single-handedly brought down the entire Jedi Order, and he went throughout the rest of his years as Darth Vader constantly hunting down Jedi. It may be that Snoke didn't... I'm sorry, folks, there's bugs attacking me. But I was saying, it may be that Snoke didn't want to go with Vader or want another Darth Vader, not because of his power level or how strong he was, but because of what he was able to achieve. I mean, Anakin was able to bring down Force gods, and since I'm going to go on the limb and say Ben Rey is more powerful than Darth Vader, they are basically walking gods at this point. I mean, I understand this all sounds very far-fetched, but, this is just, a power-scaling theory, but Rey and Ben is just, they're Force gods at this point. Why are they so powerful? How are they so powerful? I don't know, but both Ben and Rey made Luke seem like nothing. I understand Luke had his Force projection, whatever that was, at the end of the movie, but at the same time, both Ben and Rey overpowered Luke, made him look like nothing, and Rey overpowered Ben twice with the Force. I mean, these people are nuts. They're incredibly powerful, and it's just like, why are they incredibly powerful? Why are they so powerful? Now, it has been canonized that Anakin was a creation of Palpatine. Palpatine manipulated, the embryo that would eventually become Anakin Skywalker. So, you could say that, hey, maybe Palpatine's spirit survived and manipulated Ben Solo in the development inside Princess Leia to make Ben Solo much more powerful than Luke and Darth Vader. And we'll go a step further and say that maybe with Rey's parents, Palpatine did the same thing, but maybe he was more successful because Ben was born first, Rey was born next. So, if you want to go along that theory, it's possible that Palpatine manipulated the embryo that would become Ben Solo, and Leia made him incredibly more powerful than Luke, so that he would one day defeat Luke. And then, Palpatine the spirit Palpatine maybe got a little cocky, did the exact same thing in Rey's parents, and made her more powerful than Ben. They're basically like a giant pecking order, and maybe, hell, maybe it was Snoke. You know, Snoke apparently was in play very shortly after the fall of Palpatine and Vader, so maybe Snoke was out there doing some embryo genetic mutations. I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I think that's one reason why a lot of people just, they're kind of meh with Rey and Ben and Snoke even, because it's like, you have this next generation of heroes and villains, and they outdo the previous generation of heroes by every single margin possible, even by a power scale. It makes you think. I mean, it makes you think what Disney was actually doing. Now, I understand my Star Destroyer power level comparison was very out there and probably very confusing, but just watch the movies, read what little novelizations if you want, and you'll see. You will see that this power level comparison they do is just crazy. Anyway, folks, I hope y'all enjoyed it. As I said, just think about it. Just think about it. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later.